All right, cool. Well, let's just get started. So, title of this webinar is "You've got the listing, now what?" And that seems to be the major question in the market these days, the agents that we're talking to, because a lot of people are putting in the groundwork for some referrals, for some leads, for some listings over the last 3 to 6 months, and they got that listing and they listed in June and July at the height of the market anyway. And then on top of which, you've got the Fed raising rates, and it's really put a screw in or wrench in things. And now we've got to price some listings, we've got some sale listings, and what to do. So today we're going to be talking about how to improve your listing business, whether that's take more listings, differentiate yourself in your listing presentation, or just get listings sold that might be stale or sitting on the market right now. My name is Jared Frost. I'm the owner and founder of Blue Pebble Homes. Today we're joined by Matt Gallegos, my operating partner, and Dave Frankel with Proper Rate. Matt and Dave, Matt, maybe you can go first. Give us 15 seconds. Who are you? What do you do? What do you focus on? And Dave, I'll give you the same opportunity after Matt's done.
Yeah, sure. I've been in the business now for 5 years. Joined Blue Pebble Homes kind of right out of the gate. My prior background was in the Navy for 9 years, and just felt like continuing service over self and helping people in one of the best areas to improve their financial well-being. And it's been a great partnership with Blue Pebble Homes, and I continue to help veterans and active duty military around the Denver area all the way down to Colorado Springs. So I'm happy to be here and help today.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Hey, Dave, appreciate you joining us, bud. Who are you? What do you do? And tell us a little bit about Proper Rate, because I think people might not be familiar with that brand.
Yeah, so I'm Dave Frankel. I am a home loan specialist. So with Proper Rate, and so one of the things that Proper Rate, we're under the umbrella of Guaranteed Rate. If you've heard of Guaranteed Rate, kind of the big top 10 mortgage lender based out of Chicago. So for us, kind of our big thing that we try to focus on is really that personal touch. And if you were with us last time, one of the big things that we really try to focus on when we're dealing with buyers, right, is to get everyone pre-approved and underwritten ahead of time, even before they start to go house shopping. What we found that just simplifies the process for everyone. Everyone knows exactly what they qualify for, what they're comfortable with for a payment. It kind of just really simplifies the process and allows your buyers to kind of really enjoy that process of looking for homes. And on the sales side, what I have started to recognize a little bit more is, and Jared, I don't know if you're going to touch on this, but a lot of agents have been asking, how do I do a 2-1 buy down? What do I do with the 2-1 buy down? What is a 2-1 buy down? So I can kind of get into that a little bit later as well, if that's something that you're interested in. But kind of any and everything that revolves around lending, I can probably help you out with.
Awesome. And then on top of which, Dave, I think one thing that you maybe didn't touch on that I think is impressive is that, for anyone who's watching, this Dave and his team really come from an agent first kind of mindset. So it's kind of odd that you have a lender kind of sponsoring, putting effort into a listing presentation, because that's typically not where you would see these guys in the business. Dave's a great partner of ours, as well as Proper Rate, and he would treat you guys the exact same way. So if you have any questions, reach out to Dave. He's great to help in terms of helping you both with your buyers, getting pre-approved and closed, as well as just giving you additional resources to help you build your business. So everything we're going to be talking about today, additionally, who is Blue Pebble Homes, by the way? Who are we? We're a Denver-based real estate sales team focusing on the Denver metro area. Over the last 5 or 6 years, we've closed over 200 transactions, which has resulted in over 100 million in sales. And everything we're going to be talking about today comes specifically from the systems that we use to get those types of deals done. So let's move on. So the first question is, how do you improve your listing business? And I think the first thing, although it might seem really obvious, is you got to price it right. So let's just think about what happens if you're not priced properly. You are going to be above the market, most likely. If you're below the market, you're going to get in a bidding war. You're going to get the house sold. There's no such thing as a stale listing below the market. So if you're above the market, if you're not priced properly within the context of wherever an offer might come in, what's going to happen? You're just going to sit, right? And when houses sit, you always get problems with your clients, whether it's, what are you doing this weekend to help me out? Or you told me I was going to make this much money, and now I would only make this. What am I going to do now? prices, when you don't price things properly, whether it's at the beginning of the listing presentation or as you're on the market, it just creates so many problems. And so the most important thing that you need to do whenever you're improving your listing business is ensure that you're pricing properties correctly. So the first thing you want to do is make sure that you have a CMA process as well as a pricing strategy that comes from the CMA process. So what I mean by that is, how often is it, and I think most of the major brokerages teach you when you're in your listing presentation, you want to talk about price, you print out 5 or 6 of these MLS comp sheets, you put them down in front of everyone, in front of the seller, and say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, based on all these comparables, what do you think your house should sell? And I don't know about you, but I've done that like 2 or 3 times. And whenever I've done that, they always say, well, my house should trade for 10% over whatever these are because my house is better. And I don't know about you, but Mrs. Smith down the street, her driveway wasn't in good shape. And Mr. Smith too, down the other street, he didn't have a garage. So, I should get an extra 100,000 more for my house. Whenever you do it that way and just leave it as open-ended question to a seller, in my experience, you always never get to the right answer. So when you have a CMA process, and that's you specifically having an algorithm or a series of steps that you're going to take every single time you value a property, it gives you the ability to go back to a system and point your seller or your lead back to that. So for example, you can say, well, look, based on these comparables and market trends and within a 1/4 mile radius and homes that are 3 bedrooms, 4 bath, this is what your house should sell for. If the more specific you make it and the better process you have, the less objections you're going to get on the front end in terms of actually getting the house priced properly and on the market at the right price. I know you've had this conversation a lot over the last few months. Do you have anything you want to add in terms of how to set proper expectations or what specifically you might want to go into a CMA process? Did Matt drop? Did we lose Matt?
Oh, no, I'm here. Nope, that's perfect. I think the one thing I would add is within your CMA process is when you are checking the comparables, call the agents. That is a huge thing that I've found, that when you call the agent and you understand what they went for, what kind of offers they got, what kind of incentives that they were giving, it really does help with driving that process and making your seller understand where you should be listing.
I think that's a great additional piece of information, because what will happen is when you're sitting with the seller is only going to hear what the neighbors are hearing, maybe, and they're only going to hear whatever the actual seller or the other client or the other neighbor might be doing. So that neighbor is not a real estate professional, and so they might not be giving you the right advice or actually giving the right feedback that's actually happening. So when you call the agent, you say, oh yeah, like I know that house. That's not actually what happened. I talked to the agent last Wednesday, and this is what actually happened. This is how it's going to go. It's under contract. You're going to see it pop up in about 2 weeks. You sound like an expert, and there is no way someone you're talking to is ever going to tell you they're not going to be able to sell their house.
Yep.
The other thing you need to be comfortable with, especially when you're pricing stuff properly, is handling objections. And you're always most likely going to get an objection whenever your price is more than 5% away from whatever a seller's expectation is. So I think this is always a good first step, a check. So number one, if you get an objection here, whenever you're trying to price something properly, if you get an objection, you're probably going to be pretty far away, i.e. more than 5%. So this is a good temperature check to know whether or not you even want to continue with the listing presentation and really understand what this person's expectations are, or how quickly they need to move, or how flexible they're going to be if the house doesn't sell. Another line that I've found is really helpful, and by the way, this works with both buyers or sellers, is if you're getting into conversation and you can tell that they're not quite comfortable with what you're saying, I think just being upfront and saying, look, anytime you feel uncomfortable, then just know that I'm telling you the truth, because I'm not in this business to make you uncomfortable just for my own benefit, right? No one benefits when you're uncomfortable. So you're going to be more uncomfortable down the road or in the future if I don't tell you this information right now, versus if we just get out of the way and get on the same page, we're going to be able to move forward and have a much better relationship. That's a really easy, simple, it's not even an objection handler. You're just, setting the groundwork so that people understand your perspective and where you're coming from. A good objection handler for this type of stuff as well is like, so someone says, oh, well, my house is really worth $650. I don't understand why you would say it's only worth $600. And you could say, well, look, you went to the doctor and had a terrible disease, would you just want the doctor to say, go home, do whatever you're doing, enjoy the rest of your life, and good luck? Or would you want that doctor to tell you, hey, you're really sick and you need to make some changes or else you're going to get even sicker and potentially die? What would you prefer? In this case, I'm your doctor. I'm your real estate doctor. And I'm telling you, this is where the market is. This is the condition of the market. And if you want to be resolved, if you want to get your property sold, this is where you have to be, right? That's a really good way to get that done and see whether or not they're going to be flexible with you. At this point, in all honesty, in our listing presentations, if we still can't get someone comfortable with our strategy, we'll say, look, we'll let them go. Go do it your way. Or we'll say, hey, if you really want to work with us, why don't we put it in our listing presentation? We're going to start at your price. We'll list it here for 2 or 3 weeks. And if we don't get anything, we're going to come down to my price right away. The faster you can do that, the less negotiating power you're going to lose when you actually get that property priced properly. Hey, Matt, I know I just talked for a bunch right there, but is there anything you want to add in terms of objection handling, needs motivation analysis, or other tips and tricks that you can do to get listings priced properly?
No, I mean, whenever you're going into that, you just want to have a questioning attitude whenever you're talking to your sellers. You have to understand where they're coming from and why they're saying the things they are to you. So if you don't, dig deeper.
Awesome. All right. Dave, this is something I know you've been covering a bunch with the people you've been talking about, because you brought this up specifically when we were talking about what to talk about, and that's the dreaded stale listing. So what I mean by the dreaded stale listing is you've got the house on the market, you think it's priced properly, so it's not a pricing issue. You might have been on the market and then you got a bunch of showings that first weekend, and then crickets, and then nothing, and then weekends pass. No showings, no phone calls. Sellers are asking, what do we do? You had our house on the market and now we've been 3 weeks, we haven't had a showing. What do you do? So there are a bunch of things you can do. And actually, Dave, this might be a really good time for you to jump in and talk about some of the incentives or things people are doing with lenders to maybe encourage people to make offers, because that is one of the biggest hurdles these days in terms of getting offers coming through, is the financing side. So Dave, if you don't mind, maybe you can talk about some of the things that people are offering to try and generate traffic, maybe on the lending side, and also talk about the 2-1 buy down, or kind of what people are doing and how that's helping out.
Yeah, so the big thing with the 2-1 buy down, which seems to be a pretty popular kind of marketing tool, is in essence what the seller is doing. Instead of lowering the list price, they're offering an incentive. And so what that incentive is, let's say the going rate today, which sounds crazy to say, is 6%. A 2-1 buy down means that in the first year, the mortgage is going to be at 4%. Year 2, it's going to be at 5%, and then it'll go back up to 6% after the second year, so your third year. As a seller, what you're going to be doing is basically paying what the difference is in those 2 years to get that lower rate. So on average, if you're looking at, somewhere around, you say a home is $750,000, someone's going to put down 20% or 15%, whatever the number is. You can kind of estimate that your seller is going to look to spend about $10,000 for that buy down. Now, the other option that I have kind of tried to stress to listing agents is, instead of offering the 2-1 buy down, offer the 2-1 buy down as an option, as a seller credit. So instead of just saying, I'll do a 2-1 buy down, say, we can do a 2-1 buy down, or you have the option of having a $10,000 seller credit. So you don't have to lower your list price, but you're offering the buyer, and you're providing the buyer with a little bit more power. So they feel a little more empowered with, here's what I'm doing. I'm getting to make a decision with what I'm going to do with this money. Am I going to use it to buy the rate down? Am I going to use it for its closing costs, et cetera, et cetera? So again, it just kind of gives the buyer a little bit more power. But that's how the 2-1 buy down that idea works. The other idea that I've heard recently is to generate more traffic, is to increase the commission that you're paying that buyer's agent. So if your listing is sitting and you're not getting anywhere, one of the things that we've seen is listing agents offering a little bit more of an incentive to get buyer's agents to bring their clients past the house. So that, increase that commission for them a little bit, again, just to try to drive a little bit more business towards that. Because again, from my experience, and I'm sure Jared and Matt can speak on this, lowering that price is never something that you really want to have to do. It's what can you do to kind of work around having to drop that price at the same time, still make something that's enticing for buyers.
Totally. Yeah. And we've been seeing appraisals come in way over list prices lately. So, I mean, it's not like these homes aren't worth the value of what they're listed at. So I definitely think that's a great strategy.
Yeah, and in fact, you've been seeing that a lot more with production builders. So you're getting emails coming out from like KB Home or D.R. Horton, KB, all the big guys saying, "Hey, remember that 1% co-op we were offering you guys 6 months ago? We're back up to 2.8 or 3%. And I don't know about you guys, but I just told my team we're starting to write in 4% on any sort of builder deal, just because these guys have gotten so bad and taking so much of our time. So definitely increasing commissions for buyers is just another thing you can do. If you don't want to go into your seller's pocket or go into your pocket, which would be two things that Dave kind of mentioned, both with this 2-1 rate buy down or with potentially increasing commission, someone's got to pay for that, whether it's you or the seller. There are a few other things that you can do too. One, people have lost the art of door knocking in a neighborhood. I think it's like a COVID thing. Obviously people didn't want to go around seeing, shaking hands, having conversations face to face. People were really weird about that. And I feel like that's really kind of gotten lost in the last couple of years. Now with things getting reopening and COVID really not being that big of a deal, I really think you should get out and start door knocking neighborhoods again. So pass out open house flyers, call all your neighbors and invite them to the open house. Remember, whenever there's a listing in a neighborhood, this is an opportunity for a neighbor to pick their new neighbor, right? What friend or family member do you have looking for a home right now? Because if you don't put your friend or family member in this home, it could be someone else's family friend or family member, and you might not like them as much. So who do you know looking to buy a house? Because let's put them in that one. That's a line that really works. Another thing to do is targeted email marketing. And one of the things that you would need to do, and this is something you would probably want to do in addition to offering an additional co-op, is you want to let people know about the sale listing. So just because you raise your co-op percentage, it'll show on MLS. You want to let people know, hey, we're offering 3.5%, 4%, whatever you're now offering to get the house sold, right? There's a great website called zipyourflyer.com. I just kind of think the name's pretty funny, but what you're going to do on that site is it has some really good templates. This is like kind of the blast, whatever. You can set up, like subject lines, like paying 4% co-ops. You have like all these graphics and stuff like that. Zipyourflyer.com is a great tool for that. Additionally, you're going to want to email specifically active agents in the neighborhood. So I can tell you that, let's say we had a listing in Hilltop, right? There are probably 3 or 4 agents in Hilltop, Peter Blank, Carmelo, that I would email saying, hey, Peter, want to let you know, I've got a new listing in Hilltop coming up. It's going to be awesome. I can't officially market to you because I don't want to ruin all this whole, anti-competition MLS stuff. But hey, I want to prep you. Let me know if you have any buyers. It's going to come on the market in the next week or two. Let's have a conversation. Additionally, figure out other ways of leveraging other agents. So whether that's through your office, through your friends network, through maybe a professional network or another networking group you might be in, always let people know that you've got a listing, because as soon as you've got a house for sale, you can talk to them about something else and it might even help you generate another lead. So Matt, is there anything you want to add to the stale listing strategy or other things that people can do to market these listings once they get to this point?
No, but I mean, I'm sure most are doing it, but using social media to maximize everything. I mean, there are so many Facebook groups out there, Instagram tags that you can put in there. Just blast as much as you can on social media too.
Yeah, I guess anything is, because you do a lot of social media. So is there anything in specific that you would have people say or do, or are there things like maybe social media content pieces that you think have gotten a really good reaction?
I always hate whenever I see on social media when there is a house listed or someone's trying to generate it and they don't give me any specifics about the house or even the price for that matter. So I think it's always imperative that you add details about the home specifically in there so people know. I don't like being like not knowing what the heck's going on with this place. So that's always really big that I see a huge mistake by agents. It's not letting people know what I see this great picture of this house. I see a great video, but what's going on with it? What's the details? You don't have any details. So details are imperative.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So our last topic here is how to stand out specifically in your listing presentation. So one of the other ways to improve your listing business is not just getting your listing sold faster, pricing it in a market, or getting it kind of unstale, if you will. Another way to improve your business is to take more listings, right? And so if you can take more listings by increasing your conversion ratio from listing appointments to listing clients, then you're going to increase your listing closings. And so one of the big things right now is how to stand out in the market. And this is something that a lot of people don't know how to do. Because frankly, you haven't had to do it in 3 or 4 years. If you had a good friend who wanted to sell their house and you got a phone call, your listing presentation was really easy. Hey, John, thanks so much for meeting with me right now. I know everything's really crazy. You've been reading everything about that on the news. I want to let you know that based on recent comps, I think your house would transact somewhere in the 625 to 650 range. All the homes that have gone in that range have gone for at least 5 or 10% over list. So in my opinion, I think we should go at the low end of the range at 625. We should let the market bid it up and you're going to get something really awesome. John's like, great, because that's $50,000 more than I was expecting. And by the way, I have an option to get more and you're just going to take care of it. It's going to be awesome. It was like the easiest thing ever if you had the relationship. Now it's a little bit more complicated because you can't go in and tell someone, oh, your house is going to sell overnight. So you got to come with a marketing plan. You got to come up with a plan for what you're going to do if your house is not selling the first weekend, because only 12% of listings are doing that right now. And so the first thing you got to do is you got to know your comps, because if you don't know your comps and you don't know prices and you don't know the differences in all the listings, then you're not going to be able to come from a place of authority and tell a lead, hey, I know what's going on, therefore you should listen to me, right? We all have experienced this. If you ever deal with a salesperson that's either not confident, doesn't know what's going on, or doesn't have their stuff together, it's very easy for you as a consumer to just write that salesperson off and move on to the next thing, right? The product might be exactly what you want, but because the salesperson doesn't have a plan, you're going to lose the deal. And we got to avoid that. The next thing is got to understand the metro area. So it's not just understanding what's going on in these comps, right? So like, let's say you're listing a condo unit downtown. That condo unit, you need to understand what's going on in the building, right? Those are all the actual comparables, but then you also need to understand what's going on in the broader market, both on the attached side and the broader real estate market on the whole. And you got to come with more stats than just, oh, rates are up, right? Everyone can hear that right now. Everyone sees that. Everyone sees days on market are up. Everyone can hear days on market are up. Like this is on the news right now, right? You got to come with real information, real statistics that prove that you're an expert and not just like taking all your information from the news. And lastly, have confidence, but you're going to have that once you know all this information, right? So one of the worst things you can do to like lose a listing presentation is come in wishy-washy. Like, well, I don't know. Like, I really think we might want to do this, but what do you think, right? That is not how you sell deals. That does not inspire confidence that you're going to be able to transact and represent this person as their agent. So if you want to get a deal, have confidence, know your market, understand your comps, and move forward. Matt, is there anything you want to add there?
No, I think it just goes back to what we said. I think it's slide 1 is really when you are getting to know your comps and understanding the metro area, call the agents that are doing the business and closing deals around you. They want to tell you everything. Like I've multiple times that I've been on those phone calls, they will literally give me every piece of information. Plus they might actually have a buyer for you. So if you do your due diligence, you know what's going on and you know who's buying and selling around there, listing agent and buyer's agent, you're going to get a lot of information. It's going to make you a lot more confident going into those listing presentations.
Absolutely. And Dave, I guess real quick, is there anything that you found that listing agents are doing in talking to you? Because presumably when you're making offers and stuff, you're having conversations with listing agents. Is there anything that people are saying to you or conversations you're having that have maybe instilling confidence that this person will be able to get stuff done, or like, just kind of giving you a good sense of professionalism?
I think the biggest thing that we're finding is, again, kind of going back to what I said initially, the idea that we're getting everyone pre-approved and potentially underwritten as much as we can ahead of time. And then kind of the big focus that we're trying to make sure that buyers and sellers are understanding is that, and it kind of goes back to that that adage that we've heard for I don't know how long, right? It's like marry the home, not the rate. And so if you're comfortable with the rate and you're comfortable with where things are, then it's a great time to buy. And regardless of where rates are right now, kind of like, what Jared and Matt have been talking about with houses that are kind of sitting a little bit longer, it's actually a little bit healthier of a market. And so you have the opportunity to go look at some homes. You don't have to just throw in an offer because you like the pictures on Google. And so, you have some more flexibility with, negotiating, and you don't have to waive, every last, right that you have to get this home. And so on the flip side for the financing side of things, what we're really kind of seeing is just people are being a little bit more cautious. They're kind of really, looking into exactly what's going on. But again, historically rates are still at a really, really, really good spot. I know, for a lot of us, it seems crazy to think that it's, 6%, but the last couple of years of COVID are just such a blip on the screen that the idea that the expectation is that rates are going to be in the 2s and 3s is just not reality. And so although the rate probably seems a little higher than most people would like to see right now, it's not that bad. And again, you can always refinance if and when rates come down. And we anticipate that they'll probably come down in the next 18 to 24 months. So, don't feel like this is the only rate that you'll ever have on your home.
I think that's a great point. And honestly, finance is kind of weird. So as things get worse, rates come down. So it's almost like a little bit of a self-stabilizing force right there. And then lastly, what I'm going to leave you with just to stand out is something that I've kind of personally picked up on, and this is the lack of professional marketing within the real estate industry. So what I mean by that specifically is that people are basically taking their iPhones and taking pictures. They are, doing weird stuff on Word. It doesn't make a lot of sense, right? Homes that are presented properly are going to sell faster, because what happens is you get people interested in them. They show up, they see the home, and they make offers, right? So one thing we always do is we always do professional photography. Always. We always do professional videography. We always do professional walkthrough tours, right? We do professional video editing. We have a marketing director on payroll to physically do all the marketing collateral that we need so that we don't have to do it ourselves. So whether or not you want to make that investment, you can go on Fiverr, do it for $20, get a template, right? At the end of the day, if it's not created by you and someone who actually knows what they're doing, you're going to look a lot better. It doesn't cost you all that much money, and it's going to help improve your brand, which is going to help you improve your business and get more deals. So know your market, have confidence, spend a little bit of money and get some professional marketing done, and it's really going to help you out. So I really appreciate everyone taking the time, both Matt and Dave. Thanks for taking the time to give everyone some great tips and tricks. I'm just curious if there are any questions in the room before we kind of break. We've got a few minutes left over before we hit 10:30. And I just want to leave an opportunity for questions. If you have one, feel free to raise your hand. All right, awesome. Well, hey, thanks so much, everyone, for taking the time. We really appreciate it. We're going to be doing another one next month. We'll send you a little update. And thank you so much. Have a great weekend. Talk to you soon.